Okay, Hayes Mega here. So this is the AER for the Hayes Mega Rubicon Dirt Bike Adventure Day 2. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over what happened today, what really happened, what went well, and what could have been, what went wrong, you know, and what could be done, what could we do to make it better, make our ride better. That's what AAR is. It's an after-action review. Anyway, sorry, the sun is kind of in my eyes, so if I'm kind of squinting a little. But anyway, yeah, so we started out about 10 o'clock. It was so cold this morning. It was like 30 degrees this morning. It was way colder than it was at Loon Lake, I'll tell you that, man. And there's bees all over the place. And yeah, so we started out, we headed out on my old buddy, the KLX140, or it's KLX170 now, and it did great. It did great on this stuff. The stuff that we rode yesterday, I wouldn't want to ride that bike on it. You could probably do it, but I just feel like I'll do a bike comparison at the end of the video. But so anyway, we fired it up. It's running really rich, man. Every time I shut the bike off, it smells like gasoline, just straight up gasoline. So I think what we're gonna have to do is pull the airbox lid so it gets more air going to it to make the mixture leaner. Yeah, it's just way too rich. You'd have to really rev it out a lot. And anyway, so we rode up Old Rubicon Trail in the morning. That's the Rubicon Trail. It's the Old Rubicon Trail, I guess. I don't know, but it's the trail that goes from Airport Flats Campground right here. Basically, you just go down the road a little bit, and then you hang a left onto the OHV. It says combined OHV use. Like you can ride your dirt bike around here, no problem. You just ride down the pavement a little bit, like a quarter mile, and then you're at the trailhead already. And you head out the trailhead, and it's just baby heads all over the place. Baby head everywhere. The first part is actually the hardest. It has the most rocks. You're just floating on them rocks pretty much, and then occasionally there'll be like a ledge or a big rock or something. You just pop up over it. Not too bad. This bike made short work of that stuff. It beats you up a little bit though. The suspension is a little stiff on this. It's in the front. The back, it needs a stiffer shocks, but yeah, I pretty much had to stand pretty much the whole time. It's best to stand because you don't want to go over the bars. But anyway, so we're riding, and it's pretty easy. Some of it's just like just kind of forest road with like kind of a little loose dirt. The tires on this bike are really knobby. They hook up really well in the sand. And that KLX170 power, man. Woof. Well, it's got a lot of power from like halfway in the power band to the top of the power band. In fact, it keeps on pulling. It pulls until it gets to the red line. It feels like it wants to pull even more, but like it won't rev anymore. I think the rev limiter is keeping it from revving. So yeah. And then yeah, you got to shift up. So yeah, there's a lot of power in the mid and top end now. As opposed to before, it was low and mid end. So that's how the bike did. It was really rich though, and yeah. So about 3 miles later, you'll get to a paved road, and that's Wentworth Springs Road. That's the road right out here. If you take that paved road all the way up there, you'll hit that Rubicon Trail. So we didn't actually have to take the dirt road, but it was fun. Lots of baby heads, and there's some kind of rock crawling a little bit and ledges and stuff. It's like a warm up for the Rubicon, basically, is what it is. That's what that road is, man. Because there's you're gonna get to the harder stuff later. So we got to Wentworth Springs Road. There's a water crossing there. We went through that little water crossing. There's another there's a couple water crossings, but there's no water in it. There's only one with water in it. It wasn't deep at all. And you know, hey, he's a mega. He doesn't like to get his feet wet, so so we went through there, and we were taking pictures along the way. That's why it kind of took a while to get up there, but it only took like about an hour to get to the Wentworth Springs campground, and it wasn't hard. It was pretty much the same stuff. Old Rubicon Road is pretty much the same stuff. The Wentworth Springs Rubicon. So that's kind of where I got the misconception that it was not that hard. Is what I'm gonna say. But to tell you the truth, so when we got to Wentworth Springs, you pass Wentworth Springs, a little town, and then you keep on going, and then you get to a campground eventually, a nice campground. That's the Wentworth Springs campground. And then after that is when the real Rubicon shit happens. I'm not gonna lie, dude. It was no joke. We rode on, and we got to the post. It's called post pile section, it's called the Devil's Post Pile. That's what it said on the GPS. On the little map, it says post pile, and I'll go over it when we go over the map. And then we were going out these rocks and stuff. I was like, okay, we can do it. And we're going over these like freaking, pretty much about the same, about half the size of the bike, rocks, man. We're going up over them. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. We just keep on going. You have to keep that momentum going. Don't stop. And it did it. I was surprised, man. I would think a bigger bike would be able to do it better. Really, what would stop you is if you went over too big a rock, or you didn't get enough speed over a rock, you'd hit the skid plate. And this has a pretty beefy skid plate, so I wasn't worried about breaking the bike. There's no side case armor though, so you definitely don't want to drop the bike on the rocks. That's what you don't want to do. And I didn't drop the bike once through the whole Rubicon thing until I came back, and I'll talk about that later. That was just me messing around in the sand. Yeah, so we went up the Devil's Post Pile, and then we got to this ledge. Okay? I'm telling you, it was about as tall as the bike. I shit you not. I took pictures of it. It was about as tall as the bike, and I was like, I really don't want to go up that. I'm sure if I was a good enough rider, I could get up it. I did kind of. I walked up it a little bit. We walked up it about 20 feet, and then I kind of plotted a route, and like there was a route where if you got enough speed, you can kind of go up a ramp sort of on this along that steep ledge, and then you would hang a left, and then you would go up, and then you'd kind of do this thing. But it would just get nastier and nastier as it was just boulders and boulders. And like, that was the Devil's Post Pile, by the way. and then I found out and then I said and then I was gonna say, like, well, fuck it, let's just try it. And then I tried to stage it so like we could do it, and I was doing pivot turns and stuff, and I was like, oh man, I'm too tired to do this shit. and I look back and I'm like, nah, fuck that. I'm not gonna do it. So I said, fuck it. Let's just, okay. So I'm gonna say, like, okay, Hades Mega has defeated. We're going to go back. This is as far as I want to go. This is as gnarly as I want to ride. And then we go back a little bit, and then I remember seeing there's like a little intersection. There's a little trail that goes another way, and I'm like, what is this trail here? Like, let's go check it out. So I went up it, and sure enough, it was a bypass. It was a bypass for the Devil's Post Pile. I was like, oh, hallelujah. It was it was like a lot of big rocks and stuff, and kind of ledges and roots to go over, but it was not nearly as bad as the Devil's Post Pile, dude. That was the gnarliest. I wouldn't even want to take the light bee on it, man. I tell you, it was nasty, dude. You need a serious rock crawling vehicle to do that section. and you could do it on a bike, but you'd have to be a really good rider, man. And I am not a really good rider, apparently. Here's your average Joe type rider, right? Um, so what happened next? Oh yeah, we took the bypass and we got it out, and then it was just kind of, and then you just ride the top part of the post pile, and it's just a couple big rocks, not too bad, about grape size fruit, basketball size rocks and stuff that you have to go around. Not too bad. And then you get to a slick rock section. And then Hayes Omega, man, he gets lost in the slick rock all the freaking time. Oh my god. I got so lost out there again, man. Same story. It was like, well, we're not on the track anymore, and then I found out my GPS isn't set up right. It's not track up. It's north up. So we got back on track, and there was two ledges that gave me some trouble. I was like, I kind of looked at it and I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I don't really want to go up that. It's about as tall as the tires on the bike. So, but one of them I found a less steeper way to go, so we went around it and we went up a bunch of little rocks and then we rode up it. So that wasn't too bad. And then the second one I just rode right up it. there was literally like to the left, there was a rock, a ledge that just went straight up. It was a 90-degree ledge, 90-degree incline. It just went straight up to the sky, and it was like that tall. And then there was another, and then if you went a little bit towards the middle, it inclined just a little bit. And I was like, okay, let's go up that one, and I got it up. I just popped it up over it, and up we went. So it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So well, I know I can do stuff like that on this bike. So you really have to ride within your comfort zone. And the problem is, we don't have none of this stuff out where I live, so we can't just come out here and practice this stuff whenever we want. The trials area is the closest thing I got to this, and ain't anything like the stuff that we rode today. I'll tell you that, man. Yeah, and then after that, it was just a bunch of slick rock, and then some trails and more rocks and stuff. And then we got to the intersection. We got to the Wentworth Springs and Loon Lake intersection. Oh, I'm telling you, I was just like, yes, goal achieved. That's as far as I wanted to go, because we have already ridden a good chunk of it in the Light Bee. So I said, we rode to the Ellis Creek Bridge, and I went back just for fun, and then I went back and I took a break at the intersection. I didn't see anybody out on those trails, and then we took a break, and then I did a little, hey, this is what's going on, and then we rode back, and I rode back without stopping. Pretty much, we rode. I knew which ways to go, man. Follow the reflectors, follow your tracks. Um, uh, I found we took the bypass back from Devil's Post Pile, and we took that back, and I found out that there was another, the part that I did on the Devil's Post Pile, you can actually bypass that too. If you go across the intersection, there's another trail on the other side of it, of the Devil's Post Pile trail. You take that, and it kind of like it kind of snakes down this road, and then it's just more rocks and ledges and stuff, but it's nothing that the KLX couldn't handle. And then if you go, and then you get back to Devil's Post Pile, and then it kind of snakes around a Devil's Post Pile, the bypass, and then there's another one called a Rock Pile. Was it called Rock Pile? No, it's called Rock Hill, is what it's called. Yeah, I remember I saw a slick rock that just went straight up, and I did it from the other side. I got kind of hung up on one. There's like a little drop, like a crack. I got hung up on that going down, and it was hard to get up that because the tires would just slide and the bike would just go sideways. I'm like, whoa, you don't want the bike to fall down the rock. But I managed to pop it up it, and we got over, and then we rode down that steep rock that we passed. So that was a part of the bypass too. I think it was part of the bypass. I'm not sure, but we rode it anyways. It's good that we got to ride something different on the way back. So I highly suggest, now I know that I could ride all of that fairly easily and without much difficulty, and we didn't have to do the Devil's Post Pile. That ledge, that wall, there's there was like a 50-50 chance Hades Omega is gonna make it up that thing. So and we could get hurt doing it, and we're by ourselves. So it's just like, yeah, I said it's not worth the risk, so that's why I turned around. But then luckily we found the bypass, so that's a good thing they made that, man. That's all I'm saying. I'm so glad. The trail was just wide, barely wide enough to fit a Jeep too. The bypass, so I don't know how they got their Jeeps up there, man. But yeah, it was barely enough to get a Jeep up there. It was pretty narrow. It was just enough to get a Jeep through. Yeah, and then we just ripped it on the way back. We rode through the the rock sections. It's kind of gnarly on the way back to the campground. But once you get to the campground, that's it. It's easy. It's pretty easy the rest of the way back. So we just ripped it all the way back. Wow, we're just like second, third gear, fourth gear sometimes. Wow, the bike don't like to be lugged. Like the bike doesn't like to ride at really slow speeds and low RPM. That rock crawling stuff, this bike does not like it because it's air cooled. It's air cooled. It don't like it'll overheat. I feel like I'm breaking the clutch and stuff. That kind of stuff. It feels like I'm putting a lot of wear and tear on the bike. Whereas the Light Bee, I don't really feel that. I mean I am, but I'm not. There's no clutch to wear out. That's that kind of stuff. Yeah, and then we just ripped it on the way back, and then I on the way back on the Old Rubicon Trail, I tried to do donuts in this sand pit, and the sand pit was it was hard. It was like petrified rock almost, and then down I went. I fell down. I did one donut though, and I took a picture with the bike on its side. So that was like the only falls I had during the day, and then I just rode back. And boy, it is pretty rocky. That Old Rubicon Trail, it's a lot of rocks. It's pretty challenging still. Even though it's not like the other Rubicon stuff, there's a lot of rocks that you have to go over. There's like rock beds and stuff that you're gonna have to go over, but the bike will go over that no problem. It's just a mind thing, it's just something you don't normally ride, and just but it's pretty cool. Okay, so we're gonna we'll go over the maps and stuff and the stats after I talk about the two differences between the bike. I got the KLX here and the Light Bees back there. Right now I'm charging the camera batteries, so we can go back out for one more ride, and then I think that's it for today, and then we're gonna camp tonight and then head out. But what is it? Okay, so I felt that this bike, it gets better inertia through the rocks, and it has better traction through the rocks. I think it's because the sprocket on that Light Bee, it's too much torque. It's way too much torque. If you get more than half throttle, all it does is spin the tires, dude. It's too much power. So you gotta kind of feather it a little bit. You gotta be really careful with the throttle. Where this one you don't have to. You're just kind of just on off. You can milk the power out of this one better, even though it's got a lot of power still. And it's a heavier bike. It weighs twice as much as the Light Bee, but it goes over the rocks. It carries its speed over the rocks better. I'm gonna say that. It feels like it's more work to get the Light Bee keep it moving through the rocks. You gotta really twist that throttle, keep it going. It takes more energy to get that bike. You really have to twist it. This one now, it'll just keep on rolling. If this is a full size dirt bike with big 21-inch tires, even better. And it'll just whoop 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 whoop. It'll just go over it no problem. Yeah, I was really impressed with how it did today. I wanted to ride a little dirt bike on the Rubicon, and I did, and I was impressed by how it did. Could I have done that on a DR650? You know what? Yeah, we could have done that on. I think we could have done that on a DR650, but I wouldn't want to do it on a loaded DR650. I came here on a loaded DR650, and I made it up to Wentworth Springs campgrounds. Yeah, but past, and then I think I went up a little, and yeah, when we got to the Devil's Post pile, we turned around, dude. I was like, not going over that. But I didn't know there was a bypass. So like, if we had done the bypass, we probably could have done that on the DR650. You could have probably done it on a big bike. Not too bad. Now that I know, I probably could. But what I want to do would I want to take a big bike like a DR650 to do the rest of the Rubicon, like the stuff that we did on the Light Bee yesterday? Hell no, man. that was, yeah, I'm telling you, yesterday's ride was like twice as difficult as today, and that reflects the speed, the speed that we had to go through. It's not even, I'm not even gonna say it, it should it the light B made it easier, man. I'm telling you, that's a cheater bike, man. That bike is a total cheater bike. It's so light, it doesn't take a lot of muscle or energy to maneuver it around. But yeah, this one has more inertia. It's got like it's got a heavy flywheel, and it just wants to keep on going type of thing. Where the light B just, it's dependent on how much throttle you give it. But like down the hills, you just use the regen and just let it go down. Um, but the way back was a lot easier. It was all pretty much downhill. We went up about 1,000 feet, maybe a little more than 1,000 feet. Um, and this poor guy was gasping for air. He's just drowning in fuel. So we're gonna take the airbox lid out. Hopefully it'll ride better. So, but I think that's it for today for the KLX. Did good job. I dropped you at the sand pit. Sorry, buddy. It's okay. It's sand. It's soft. Sorta. It was like really hard sand. Like it rained last night, or during the night before, and I think it's like it made the sand really hard. That's why. Um, yeah. So yeah. That's the two differences I see between the bikes. This one has better traction, man. I didn't spin the tires nearly as much as I did that other one. But the weight, the other one is much lighter than this. You can just, if you wanted to walk it over stuff, you could, and that's what I did most of the time because I knew I was by myself, and I didn't want to get hurt. Yeah. I feel the suspension is better on the KLX. This bike is kind of set up for my weight. It has stiffer springs in the front. It has a KX front fork. It's a pretty good front fork. It's an upside down fork. And it has a stiffer rear spring, but it needs an even stiffer rear spring. It's still not sprung enough for me, but it's okay. So I can pretty much sit down. And ride this thing the whole time, but it's not a good idea. I won't go over the rough stuff that well. So the suspension is better on this bike, no doubt, than the Light B. But the Light B, just because the Light B is so light, a Light B, it has a double meaning, right? Light as in like energy, right? And and light as in it's lightweight. it's a so yeah. In that respect, I feel that we need a stiffer front fork. I'm bottoming it out a whole lot on really rough obstacles. I think it needs a slightly stiffer front spring. So if I can get a stiffer front spring, that would be better. That would be best, I think. So I'm going to try to see if I could find a stiffer spring. And then it'll be perfect, Like, yeah, you can mess around with the compression adjuster, but I feel that I think just respringing it would help even more. Just a little bit stiffer. And then you can use the compression adjuster. The dampening is pretty good on that. Yeah, okay, so let's go over, I'm going to go over the map and everything.